Okay, we'll go ahead and get started unless there's any objections. Today is Tuesday, May 12, 2020. I'll call to order the Indiana Election Commission meeting, seeing that there's a quorum. Myself present, Chairman Paul Okeson, Vice Chairman Anthony Long, Member Susanna Wilson Overholt, and Member Zachary Klutz are all in attendance, as well as Election Division staff, Co-Director Angie Nussmeyer, and Andrew Lang standing in as Co-Director and Co-Counsel, as well as Co-General Counsel Matthew Kochever. We welcome again our court reporter Maria Collier from Stewart Richardson Deposition Services. Once again, we are doing this meeting via Zoom, obviously, and I want to remind everyone to please state your name, although she will be able to see the screen as you are speaking. And please refrain from speaking at the same time as others. Again, just to remind everyone, even though this meeting is open to the public and it is a virtual meeting, Stewart Richardson will sort of keep control of the con and keep everybody muted so that we can hear the participants of the commission appropriately. Unless you are recognized to speak by us, please refrain from doing so. I'd like now for the Election Division staff confirm that proper public notice is given for this meeting.
Yes, it has, Chair.
Okay, so the meeting was posted on the 8th outside the Election Division for public edification. We have a couple of things on the agenda today. I don't suspect we'll get into great detail. Most of this is cleanup work. We have, I believe, the last 4 Election Commission meeting minutes that have yet to be approved. So with that, we'll get started on those. I recognize the co-directors to present the meeting minutes from February 21st, 2020.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. As Chair Okeson mentioned, we do have 4 sets of meeting minutes. I know that I have been able to review all of those, and I believe my counterpart, Mr. Lang and Mr. King, have also had the opportunity to review any scrivener's errors we have noted, and that was primarily in the February 21st meeting. The other minutes, we found no scrivener's errors, and with that, I would recommend approval of all 4 sets of minutes when you reach those points in the agenda today.
The point of order, can we just make a motion to approve all 4 sets, or do we need to do them individually?
I believe you can do all 4 sets collectively. I would defer to counsel if they feel differently.
Co-counsel Kochever?
I concur with Angie on this point.
Co-counsel Lang, you good with that?
I concur as well.
Just as a matter of keeping things moving, is there a motion to approve all of the minutes from February 21st, March 25th, April 17th, and April 22nd?
Anthony Long, so moved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Zach Klutz, I'll second.
I don't.
Any discussion on the matter? Hearing none, all those in favor, I'll go down a list just so we can make Stewart Richardson capture this easily. Vice Chairman Long?
Aye.
Commissioner Overholt?
Aye.
Mr. Klutz?
Aye.
I'm aye as well. All the ayes have it, and the motion to approve all 4 of the past meeting minutes is approved. Next on the agenda, we have sort of some cleanup from some past orders as it relates to expiration of dates. As we all know, due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, we're readopting some past orders, 2020-37 and 2020-40, to extend them for an additional 30 days. From their current expiration dates. As a reminder, these orders pertain to matters surrounding the moving of primary election from May 5th to June 2nd. I move that we adopt what is now called Order 2020-44, which has been posted at the Indiana Election Commission's webpage and can be found on the Secretary of State's website, for those of you who are interested. For purposes of a discussion, is there a second to my motion?
Second.
Noting a second. Any discussion? Do we need to review any of the finer points of what this does? I think it's pretty clear. Section
Mr.
1
Chairman.
extends. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, sections, there were some, I was hoping to have perhaps an update from staff regarding absentee applications, but if you want to go through the provisions first, I could ask those questions later.
Yeah, if it doesn't pertain to the vote on this order, we'll give you an opportunity to talk about that after we vote on this. Is that okay?
Sure.
Are you hearing me okay? I'm getting a unstable
I am,
connection on my
sorry.
end. Is everybody?
Yeah, people are going in and out. Can you hear me pretty well?
Yeah. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second on adoption of Order 2020-44. Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by aye. Vice Chairman Long,
Aye.
Vice Chairman, or excuse me, Commissioner Overholt,
Aye.
Commissioner Klutz.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. The ayes have it, and the order is adopted unanimously. Can I get consent by the commission members for the election division staff to sign this order with our stamps?
Anthony
I consent.
Long. I give my consent.
Before we move on, Commission Member Overholt, if you wanted to ask some questions, please feel free to do so.
Sure. I was just wondering if the staff had any statistics regarding the number of absentee ballot applications that have been requested so far.
Co-Director
Staff, I
Nussmeier, do you
guess-
respond first?
Oh, sure, Mr. Chairman, glad to. So this morning I get a daily report on absentee statistics. And so at midnight, we had roughly 275,000 absentee applications requested in the state. And I'm sure the number continues to grow as counties work through and approve applications today. And so that is a sizable number of absentee ballot requests in the state of Indiana. And it's not been that's not typical volume in most election cycles, I will just say, at least since 2008. And just a reminder to those who are listening on the call today, and that is if you have an absentee ballot if you want to request a ballot to vote by mail, you have until May 21st, which is next Thursday, to apply, which you could do through a paper application or now use the online application found on indianavoters.com. And we heard today from our vendor that roughly 10% or so of all the applications coming through right now are through the online module, which is pretty sizable considering we've only had it out for about 10 days or so. And that if you do have an absentee ballot, that it needs to be in your county election board's hands by noon on election day. So just make sure that folks are aware of those deadlines coming up. But the volume is pretty significant, and it will be a fairly large shift in the way that many counties will do business on election day with their central count. So I suspect that election results probably won't be readily available election night, depending on how much absentee traffic the counties are seeing. So I hope that's helpful information to everybody.
Do you, quick question from my end, and sorry, Suzanne, I'm sure you'll have some more. Do you post these statistics on the election division website, or are they available to the public to kind of track absentee ballot activity?
I'm not aware of anything we do on a daily basis. After the election, we'll have statistics that sort of break out absentee versus election day voting, but that absentee number is everything all grouped together, which would be walk-in traffic, travel board, mail, and then for our military and overseas voters, fax and email. But I'm not aware of anything that provides those stats on a daily basis. If you are a voter who's requested an absentee ballot, you can go to indianavoters.com and log back into your My Voter portal, and you can see that your application has been received and then the date the ballot was mailed, or at least the label was created to mail the absentee ballot out, and then also when the county receives your ballot back in. So the voter has that individualized, tailored experience, but there's not, that I'm aware of, any sort of cumulative number posted anywhere in real time.
And again, the number you quoted, 275,000, was purely those requested. That doesn't include those that were voluntarily mailed out on behalf of county clerks or county parties or anything like that. We have no idea of knowing, right?
Right. We only know what is received by the counties when they enter the data into the system. So the system doesn't know if there are applications sitting on someone's desk to be processed, for example. But they would know once things come in through online, they're able to review and approve those applications and things that come through email, fax, or mail in terms of the absentee applications. Once they do the data entry and attach it to that voter, then that's when it appears in the system as either a count in the report that I'm referring to, or if you're a voter going to the website, you're able to see if that application's been received and if the ballot's been mailed.
Thank you. Sorry, Commissioner Overholt, please proceed if any questions you might have.
Thank you. Well, I think that based on these numbers, I'm just, I just raise this because I think this is something we need to keep an eye on, and I continue to be concerned about the ability of of the systems actually to ensure that these, the number of requests coming in to get them mailed out to people and to get the request processed. And perhaps, I think, something we really should continue to think about is extending the application for the application deadline for the absentee ballots. We've talked about this before, but perhaps shortening, well, I guess I keep making it closer to the election, but, to really think about having that deadline be, 6 days before the election instead of the current election, because with the number coming in, and I think people, just with what's going on, it seems like people are going to continue to be assessing their situation and perhaps, feel the need to vote absentee at more of the last minute. So I just think that is something that we should give some serious thought to. I guess I could put that in the form of a motion. I guess I was interested in hearing, thoughts about it. But if you want me to make a motion, I can do that.
Well, exactly what would your motion be then?
Well, it would be to change the deadline for submitting absentee ballot applications to 6 days before the election, as opposed to, 12 now?
Correct. It's 12 days before the election.
I guess Mr. Chairman, I've not heard of.
Sure, Commissioner Klutz, go ahead.
I guess, it's something we could keep an eye on, but I've not heard of any election administrators having difficulty yet, or at least it hasn't come to my attention. I guess before I'd be willing to consider any motion like that or another change of deadline, I'd want to know that there is a problem before we try to fix something. I'm not interested in fixing a problem if there's not a problem.
My concern would be that may increase the volume of stress that's put on the county clerks, but I'd defer to maybe co-counsel Lang. You might want to chime in on that.
Could I step in and second her motion so we get it on the floor for discussion?
Well, I don't think she's actually made the motion yet. I asked her what the motion would be.
How about could I make the motion?
And then I'll second it.
So my motion would be that we that we change the deadline for applications for absentee ballots to be submitted so that they can be submitted up to 6 days before the June 2nd primary election.
Okay, so there's an emotion, and Vice Chairman Long, would you like to formally second it?
Yes, I do. I second that.
All right. So even though I didn't have this on the agenda, we'll go ahead and entertain it for discussion. Is there any? Commissioner Klutz, do you have anything to offer?
Well, I don't have enough information to know whether this is a good idea. I'd want to talk to election administrators. I know that before the election, they have these deadlines so they can pivot to other tasks and responsibilities for conducting an election, and putting this even closer to administration of elections in person. I don't know the impact. And so I'm not in favor of this unless I have more information that, one, there's a problem, or two, the county administrators think that they can handle a shortened time frame.
Yeah. You know, I certainly don't, I understand the logic behind your motion, Commissioner Member Overholt. But it's sort of brought up here ad hoc, and having not had time to consider it and to consider the impact of movement of that date on the counties and the administrators, and to Commissioner Member Klutz's point, not knowing if there's an urgent need to fix anything at this point. Unfortunately, I would vote no on this motion, but that doesn't mean we couldn't bring it up in the future should we need another meeting prior to the primary.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, this is the kind of a motion that I don't think we're fixing a problem that exists, but we're anticipating a problem that is realistic to anticipate. I see, in my mind, giving the voters an additional 6 days in which to file their applications, given the fact that the Secretary has started the advertisements and the encouragements, and I know all of us have been doing the same, for people to take advantage of this because of the risk that the voter exposes themselves to, and of course in deference to other voters, and most certainly the workers at the polls. This has been one of my biggest concerns, the health aspects of it, that even if this motion, I think it's a good idea to do. I supported it back before. I did not anticipate this, like you, Mr. Chairman, coming up today, but at the same token, I think the fact that we're discussing it is important. That from what you said, that I think we have to, however this motion goes, if it passes, number one, then the issue that's settled. If it does not pass, then I think from your comments, Mr. Chairman, that we have to have our finger on the pulse here and be prepared before the 21st, or as we approach the 21st, to have another meeting wherein we can further discuss this and see if there's empirical data that would support it, that would satisfy anybody's uncertainty at this point in time, or if, as Commissioner Klutz had indicated, I'd like to have some input from the election administrators. I think those are things, any concerns that anybody would have that would precipitate a no vote, that would certainly afford you the opportunity to assuage those concerns.
Sure. I appreciate your comments. Again, I think I don't find them, they're on point, certainly. But again, I think as a largely volunteer board as we are, we both rely heavily on the counsel and advisement of co-directors and co-counsel, and having not had opportunity to consider this motion, and having just, again, voted unanimously on a previous order that locks and affirms many of these dates in, it doesn't seem prudent to me to vote on a motion to sort of modify or change orders that we've previously voted unanimously to approve without some further data and discussion. But I recognize we're growing closer to the dates where these discussions are relevant. But as I said, based on it primarily being brought up for the first time in this meeting after having just voted on Order 2020-44, I would tend to vote no on this today. And I think we'll continue to, as we have all along, relying on good co-counsel and co-directors on both sides here, keep our fingers on the pulse and monitor this closely. And certainly, I believe if you wanted, you could withdraw the motion and we could continue to consider it, or we can simply vote on it and reconsider it another time. But as of now, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
May I ask a question to Commissioner Overholt?
Sure, go ahead.
Susanna, I'm thinking out loud, but procedurally, and I agree with the spirit of your motion. Understanding that there's some concern here and the possibility of this not being successful. What would your feeling be if a motion to lay this motion on the table were made, along with the commitment for a meeting sometime before the filing deadline, and request that the staff
Somebody didn't like what you had to say.
Bring their dog along with them.
Well, I'd have to, co-counsel Lang, could you chime in? So we have a motion and a second. My knowledge of Robert's rules say we would have to vote on it. Is there a process by which, as Vice Chairman Long has offered, that maybe that motion be set aside or tabled or withdrawn in some way? And if I'm mischaracterizing your statements, Vice Chairman, please correct me.
My question was what her feeling would be about a motion to lay the motion on her table in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, that it has to then come up at the next meeting. As I understand them, I'm no expert on them, but I had occasion to read them, and I even ordered me an updated book. I haven't read it since I got it, but I was concerned on another discussion we had about how we had to do things within our party, and that was for me. I wasn't researching for this meeting. I want to make sure everybody knows that it was for a Central Committee meeting of the Democrat Party.
Too bad Robert isn't around to consult on his rules. Co-Director Lang, could you weigh in on that, please?
The motion certainly could be tabled for consideration at a subsequent meeting if so desired.
Correct me if I'm wrong. We do not have, as of current, a meeting scheduled prior to the primary. Is that correct?
That is correct, Chairman.
That was a part of my question. That we would, as a part of laying it on the table, we would agree to have a meeting before the 21st in order to consider extending the deadline if there appears to be a need for the same.
So, in moving on the motion, as you suggested, it requires a meeting prior to the 21st, correct?
I haven't made a motion, but that would be an integral part of it. This is a part of the discussion on this to move us through an area of possible disagreement to a vehicle to put us in a position to research further, receive input as we would desire, and then make a decision which would be in the best interest of the citizens of Indiana.
Co-counsel Lang, if we voted on this motion and it failed, would there be anything precluding the motion from being brought forth in a future meeting?
I believe if the motion was tabled, it could be brought up again at a subsequent meeting, but I would also defer to my counterpart on that matter.
What I'm saying is if it's voted on and it fails, can a similar motion be brought again in a future meeting?
Mr. Chairman, this is Matthew Kochever. I have some knowledge in Robert's Rules of Order.
Please,
To
go
answer
ahead.
your more immediate question, if the main motion that we have that was brought by Commissioner Overholt were to fail, is my belief that at a future meeting that would be called by yourself, a similar motion could be made again. I think in the history of this commission that has happened before. A motion failed at one meeting. Then there was some reconsideration, the motion was made again, and it passed. And then also, in addition, if Vice Chair Long were to make a motion to table, the actual terminology he would want to use is a motion to postpone to a certain time. Motions to table are just to table something through to a future part of the meeting. If you want to continue a matter into another future meeting, you want to use a motion to postpone.
Mr. Chairman, my only concern with this is creating some kind of uncertainty or expectation by election administrators that this decision has not been determined and that the deadline for returning these absentees is somehow in flux and will be determined at another date. I don't think that's the case. The case is we have not extended the deadline, and if circumstances require it, we would be willing to meet. But the way this is being teed up is that there's, to me, uncertainty as when the deadline, and I would rather have this motion be voted upon, and then if facts necessitate, we meet again and vote on it again. But I'm very hesitant to create uncertainty with 92 county administrators thinking that there's another meeting, thinking that there's either a likelihood or a possibility or not of when these absentee ballot applications are due.
No, I'm thinking the same thing. I think we need to leave this meeting with the certainty that's been unanimously voted on in the previous orders. And to your well-made point, Commissioner Member Klutz, if there's a need to revisit it, well, we certainly can do so without locking in any confusion today. So with that, I will go ahead and take a vote on the motion offered by Commission Member Overholt and seconded by Long. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Commission Member Klutz?
Nay.
I'm a nay as well. The motion fails. I will, before moving on to the next matter on the agenda, really more towards co-counsel's co-chiever's comments. In the spirit of working through this, should we have another meeting before the primary and need to bring this up, I'll certainly entertain a motion again if we need one. With that, we have some remaining campaign finance settlement agreements. We need to ratify some settlement agreements. I recognize the election division's campaign finance staff, Ms. Taylor, Ms. Thompson, to present the information concerning, I guess, at least one campaign finance agreement entered into on behalf of the commission. Ms. Taylor,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
can you hear me? Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Michelle Thompson here. You were sent a list of committees to ratify that have agreed to pay a settlement agreement and waive a hearing.
Is there a motion to ratify those? Well, is Ms. Taylor present? Would she like to offer anything in addition? Okay, is there a motion to ratify those campaign finance settlement agreements as they are presented.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a disclosure?
Sure.
I'm a member of the State Bar Association, which I believe is on the settlement list. It was sent to me earlier with the, I couldn't send out to see if we had conflicts. Since they are settlements, I don't think that it creates a conflict for me, but I wanted to make the disclosure if anybody has any objection. If it's a contested issue. As I say, I think I'm a member of the State Bar. My wife takes care of those memberships. So may or may not be. Maybe those dues may have resulted in a new tree or something at the house. But notwithstanding, I make that disclosure and indicate I don't intend to disqualify myself unless someone would propose that I do so.
I certainly do not. Do any other members have any issues with Vice Chairman's disclosure?
No.
No, and I would say I think I'm not sure, but I think I am also a member of the State Bar Association. So I would make the same disclosure and don't think that it is reason to disqualify myself.
I appreciate the
I don't
disclosure.
think we'll probably get an award for outstanding members. But with that comment, I'll make a motion. We approve the agreement.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Klutz. All those in favor, please signify by aye. Vice Chairman Long,
Aye.
Commissioner Overholt,
Aye.
Commissioner Klutz.
Aye.
Aye, two and aye. The motion passes, and the agreements have been ratified or adopted. Excuse me. Next, we have approval of campaign finance orders 2020-5 and 2020-36. Again, recognize Ms. Thompson and Ms. Taylor of the Election Division to present the information concerning several finance orders.
Now, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, orders 2020-5 through 2020-36 have been prepared from the actions taken at the February 21st meeting, and these orders are ready for adoption.
Is there a motion to adopt the campaign finance orders as presented by Ms. Thompson?
So moved.
I'll make the motion.
I've got a motion from Commission Member Klutz. I'll take a second from Vice Chairman Long.
Okay.
Any discussion? Hearing the desire for none, all those in favor signify by aye. Vice Chairman Long,
Aye.
Commission Member Overholt,
Aye.
Commissioner Klutz,
Aye.
I too am an aye. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. I believe that wraps up our business for today.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll defer to Vice Chair Long first, but I do have a point to make about signatures.
Yeah. Vice Chairman Long, go ahead.
We have this isn't on the agenda. I think I did communicate with you earlier that it's an issue that I think we might want to address today, and that's the fact that we have a litigation pending regarding the fall election.
Yeah.
I don't want to take my comments as indicating that I favor it. I think personally believe it's an untimely lawsuit with all due respect to the participants and the parties in it. I think their motivation is not improperly placed, but I think it might be in order that we consider having an executive session regarding pending litigation with our staff and the counsel from the Attorney General's office to allow them our thoughts and the benefit of our thoughts as to how they might consider proceeding in this matter.
Yeah, I apologize, I didn't make mention of that, but I'd like an opportunity to confer with co-counsel Lang and some others first, just to see sort of what ground we're on. There may be some question as to our representation, whether that's remains with the Attorney General or we go out, there's some questions there that I want to confer with, but your point is well made, and my presumption is at this point that we probably would. I would have to check with co-counsel Co-Cheever and Lang as to whether, how an executive session might work in this environment, but may very well seek to do so here in the next day or so.
Yeah, it's just information, and that's all I was asking for, the thoughts on it.
I agree.
Since I have a little bit of advantage over everyone else, and then I've been here a lot longer, we've had these a number of times in the past, and they're completely appropriate for non-public executive sessions with regard to litigation issues. And that's why and that's one of the key words to them is pending litigation.
Yeah.
That's why I use those words.
You've been there and done that, huh?
Yep, that's not my first rodeo.
Mr. Chairman, if I might though, even with an executive session, we have to give 48-hour public notice of the session. So just something to keep in the back of your brain as you kind of move forward and thinking about when this might happen.
Okay, so I co-counsel Long and Lang, and I discussed briefly prior to this meeting, connecting on that, and then your point's well made, Co-Director Nussmeier. So we'll rally on each side of this and figure out the right timing of it, and they may very well then issue a notice for an executive session.
All right, that's all I had.
Perfect. And then did co-counsel Co-Cheever, did you have something you needed to cover?
Yes, sir. You're asking for consent to apply signatures, if I remember correctly, only apply to Order 2020-44. So I think you need to ask for consent to apply the members of the commission signatures to Orders 2020-5 through 36, as well as your signature to the meeting minutes.
Give mine.
Did I not give mine to the meeting minutes? I apologize. I do consent. And you're saying we only recognize, so we need consent for signatures on orders 2020-5 and 2020-36. Is that it? Co-counsel Co-Cheever?
5 through 36.
Yes, sorry, 5 through 36. Yep. I certainly consent to mine.
I consent.
Consent.
I consent.
Perfect. Okay. Now I believe we're done for the day.
I move we adjourn.
I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Stay safe, my friends.
You too, sir.